Kylie, welcome to the Everyday Heroes podcast by Kofkin Bond. Wonderful to have you back here as one of our, I think I worked out today, ninth repeat offender out of 280 plus something episodes. So welcome back.
Oh, thank you for having me return and to be in the top 10. Very privileged.
Well, I think you're used to just coming first in everything you do.
Yeah.
So
That's okay.
yeah.
As you get older, you scale back a little bit. So top 10's good enough these
Just be
days.
careful of the word old because I'm far older than you.
Oh.
So welcome back. You know, we have formed a really great friendship over the last 4 to 5 years,
Yes.
as we have, and started doing some work together with Future Proof as well, where you're part of our inner circle, trusted inner circle,
Yes.
and which is about, and the reason why we've got you back here today, it's about small SME businesses up to the large businesses and the importance of actually having the right people, or as Jim Collins would say, the right people in the right seat on the right bus, driven by the right bus driver as well. So
Yes.
it's as well. So
Yeah.
the importance of actually having the right people can be, and leaders can be imperative to a business, and that is your forte of recruiting executives. So can you just give us a bit of an idea of how you actually got into the recruiting business in the first place?
Sure, I can. I fell into recruitment, and you'll hear that quite a lot if you're talking to recruiters. I was in real estate, so having a property background, it was just felt very natural for me to go into recruitment, but still specialise in property at that point in time. But as I said, it was just through my network of people that I'd worked with in the real estate industry. A few moved into recruitment and said, "Hey, you should come and check this out." And it seems like it could be right for you. Let's discuss it, and the rest is history. At the time I was 24, so it was a move for me that was looking into the future and a corporate environment, business to business, offering at that point in time just felt right. I love real estate, but it did consume my weekends, and it was a very public environment, obviously, that you're dealing with. So that comes with, the phone ringing at all hours. And it was definitely an amazing foundation to my career to learn all the skills in sales and being in an environment that's very important to people, especially if they're buying or selling. It's one of the biggest transactions that one would go through. And to be involved in that was it was fantastic. But it was just time to move into a corporate environment and be amongst business owners and look into an industry that I could, ultimately support with people moving careers and seeing businesses grow. So it was.
It's interesting that you say that, because as you were talking, I was just thinking of something which is quite similar in a way with real estate and having the right people working in your organization. And if you consider real estate, nowadays it's very rarely under $1 million transaction. So it's a very large financial commitment that somebody is taking to move into a property and make sure they can afford to repay that property. And a wrong move can be disastrous for an individual or a family, especially if people have overcommitted to low interest rates, etc. In business, making the wrong hire can also be a financial disaster for a business as well. So from that perspective, it's selling real estate is putting a beautiful roof over somebody's head and making them feel wonderful about where they're going home. In business, you're having the right people, the right bums on the right seat is about sometimes that business owner feeling unbelievably comfortable when they're not at the office or when they're walking into the office as well. I mean, what's your view on that?
Yeah, there's that life element and that personal interaction that you're having, obviously in real estate. As you said, putting a roof over your head and thinking about or thinking about an investment. So I suppose it's either that life decision or that commercial decision. So combining both, whether it was in real estate or it's in recruitment, you've got your candidate that's looking to forge their career, and they're very considered about that. That comes back to life. And then obviously for a business, when you're sitting down with them, understanding their growth, their structure, their benefits, the culture that they're looking to build. Yes, that is obviously, there's all commercial elements in that thinking and that plan, but there's also, it comes back to human. It comes back to the behaviours of human and the environment of the business that that is, interacting with lifestyle.
Now, knowing your story,
Mm.
your business story, the you when you first got into recruitment, you did work for other firms,
Hmm.
and then I think Prime's 5 or 6 years now,
Just turned 6.
just turned
Yeah.
6, yeah. So you decided to go out and on your own.
Yes.
Without giving away your age, you were in your 30s at that stage.
I
So it's
was. 2
uh,
babies under tow.
I was going to say two beautiful young girls,
Yeah.
and really, taking that chance of saying, I'm going to do this myself now and really have a go myself.
Mm.
So you understand the everyday pain of a business owner because you actually are one yourself.
Hmm.
And you do have a great team with you that
Hmm.
you fully support, and they have their own jobs, etc. to do.
Yes.
But I want to go back to that, taking that risk,
Hmm.
deciding to be a business owner yourself, going and supporting business owners. Where did that thought come from? And
It
why did you take the risk?
I took the risk ultimately because I thought I needed flexibility for the family. It's a funny thought to have, and to think that that's what, well, it's obviously it's a need, but whether it doesn't become a realization when you're a business owner. You tend to carry a lot of weight on your shoulders, which equals a lot of time, but that can ease up as things grow and you position the business correctly with the right people. But look, I just felt that I had the knowledge. I felt that I surrounded myself with people in my career that I could learn from. And then that collectively got me to a position where I was confident in backing myself to make the decision to start my own. I know how to recruit. I know how to build relationships. I know how to work with business owners. I know how to work with candidates. I didn't know how to run a business on my own. But again, joining networks and being affiliated with people like yourself, Tony, all I needed to ask was to ask for the support. And I was confident to be able to, again, surround myself with the right people as a solo business owner to be able to take the steps to grow individually, but also the business. So, again, it just comes down to your network. And as I said, I was very selective in making a move with 2 businesses that I worked with in recruitment to be surrounded by the right people and people doing great things in a market that I could be around, learn from, grow with. And then, selfishly at that point in time, taking all of that knowledge and experience from them to be able to eventually start something on my own.
As you know, my very first full-time job was actually at a recruitment company,
Yeah.
Drake Personnel.
Yes.
And the managing director of Drake at the time he started Drake in Australia or in Australasia is a gentleman by the name of Ron Irwin. And when I say gentleman, I mean true gentleman.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful man. And I remember as a 17-year-old who finished year 12, who deferred from university because I was going to pursue a sporting career. And at the time, Drake sponsored Melbourne Football Club and the swimming mean machine, which I was trying to have a crack at in 1988 for the Olympics. Didn't get there, but anyway,
Wow.
he
So to
supported
have
me.
that sort of story is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I didn't get there, but it was a good time trying to.
Yeah.
So it's interesting though because Mr. Irwin, I still can't say Ron. Mr. Irwin
Yeah.
was one of the greatest business influences in my life.
Mm.
Now, obviously, I didn't stay in recruitment. I was actually only working in the mail industry, in the mail room there anyway. But he had 300 odd people in his team in Melbourne, and he knew everyone by name.
Yeah.
He knew about their families. The very first time he saw me, he stopped and he said it was just outside his office, which was amazing. And it was level 16 on 35 Collins Street.
Mm.
And he looked at me and he said, I don't know you. And I said, oh, hi, I'm Tony. This is my first day. And he said, come into my office. And we sat in his office and he said, oh, I remember you're the recruit we had because you're the swimmer.
Yeah.
And he said, tell me all about you.
Yes.
And I was mesmerized by this beautiful human being of a man.
Mm.
But that actually, one of the things that really resonated with me was the fact that he wasn't because my first full-time job, he wasn't a school principal. He wasn't a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually somebody who bonded and connected.
Mm.
your career has been in real estate and now in recruitment, where you actually have to bond with people and meet people.
Yes.
And sometimes that can be uncomfortable. The very first time, I don't know if I ever told you this story, Bella, but the very first time that I met with Kylie, we were sitting next to each other at a cub event, and I was this one spare seat and it just happened to be next to Kylie. That was great.
Yeah.
Went and sat down, and it had just started. So, and then the speaker made us turn to the person next to each other and introduce ourselves. And that's how we met.
Yeah.
So we were forced to introduce ourselves to each other. But sometimes that can be really uncomfortable. Now, we're both in the people game, so that's something that has to be comfortable with us. How has that been, and say in the recruitment industry now, where you're actually having to deal with candidates and employers? How have you blended that together? How do you go out there and start building those relationships and actually keeping and I know you're on a personal level and you are very much relationship driven. So how do you continue to do that and show up every day for both the candidates and for the businesses as well?
Yeah. Oh, look, it does. Obviously, it takes time. There's taking. There's maturity that upon reflection now, I suppose,
Yeah.
where it's not feeling uncomfortable at all. But I certainly remember in the early days of my career feeling, uncomfortable, out of place. How do I approach talking to a vendor who's about to list $2 million home with me, and you you find I'm a quietly confident person. I know that. But certainly, it's all experience. And, one big thing that's always sat with me is relationship building is also trust building. It's twofold. So it goes hand in hand. You don't build trust in the first minute that you shake someone's hand, but there are certainly ways and means that you grow the relationship through building trust. And when I talk to business owners, when I talk to CEOs, when I talk to candidates at the executive suite, it's a very common word that they're looking to build in the business. And it goes back to your point about Mr.
Erwin.
Irwin, knowing, he needed to know you because he knew 289 people in the business, and that's the way he built trust. And, that was obviously his, I'm assuming, way of, getting people engaged with the business if he could engage with them in knowing, what they do on the weekend and
was
their
genuine.
family and, who they are as a person outside of work. So
It was interesting because at the time, so this would have been 19 after I finished school, which was 86 to 1987. And we were just about to head into some pretty tough times. And what you just mentioned, that word trust, I think that is imperative for any business owner. Because if you have the trust of your colleagues, when times do get hard, that's not when you're standing up there saying, just trust me and go and do it.
exactly.
They already trust that you will be looking to try and make the right decisions. And, when you first started your business, and I remember when it was 2 weeks after we moved into this office when the first lockdown happened,
Yeah.
having that trust where your colleagues are looking at you and saying, do I still have a job? What's going to happen? And we don't know. But we were very upfront with them saying we've got enough cash reserves to be able to run this place for a year.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, our goal is to ensure that nobody was to ever lose their job.
Yeah.
But it's being able to have that where, once again, was something that was installed from Mr. Irwin, who's just this amazing human.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with the employer groups as well, they have to have great trust in you that you are going to put the right person, because we're talking C-suite executives, or people at that executive level, people who make decisions. If they make wrong decisions in companies that you're placed, can actually be disastrous for the company as well, and thus your reputation. So how do you ensure in this world of AI that those candidates are the right people and the right fit for that employer as well?
Yes. I suppose in the world of AI, that's somewhat a separate topic.
You can go both ways, yeah.
The human element to building a relationship, to building trust over time, to building your network. That's human interaction. That's a genuine human with intention to, as I said, get to know you or understand your drivers and understand or help you work through towards an outcome. The AI aspect of it and how that's taken play in the market at the moment is, I mean, within recruitment space, I can talk to and how we're using it. It's workflow, it's processes, it's efficiency, it's speeding up the time that we're doing to research, to investigate, to produce quality lists of skills and talent in the marketplace. But it's certainly not replacing the human element to make a call. Let's deep dive into a briefing session and have a conversation about what we're looking to achieve here.
Do you think from the employer's perspective, a smaller business versus a very large business, that they are utilising AI differently in respect to the workplace as well? From when you're looking at candidates to place and they're looking specific roles, do you see that they might be using it differently from depending on the size of the business?
Yes, they are. And sometimes it just comes down to the appetite of the leadership team and what they're how innovative they're looking to be. So I suppose it would probably come down, upon reflection, may not matter about the size of the business. I mean, obviously large businesses will have teams, constantly researching and rolling out. Smaller businesses may not have that, um, that meat to do that. So it just probably come down to the, the innovator in the business to be able to research and then sort of implement AI. And when we're talking about building and construction in terms of a sector, I mean there's so much happening there that's sometimes beyond your even thinking power. But when you're looking into it and researching it, how it's fast tracking projects, it's mind blowing.
It is absolutely mind blowing. One of the things, though, that you just keep coming back to, and it doesn't matter whether it's your industry, our industry, or the building industry, one of the things that we keep coming back to, though, is the human element. When the human element, sometimes we just like a day to ourselves, where we don't have kids screaming in our ears, or where we can just wake up when we want and go and have a coffee when we want, or read a book when we want. But it's when that human element is taken away from you, like what happened during COVID, where all of a sudden you really miss human interaction and those relationships. There's a lot of jobs that they're saying will go through because of AI, but there's other jobs which just that human element is so vitally important. And it doesn't matter whether it's a senior engineer in a large construction company, having that human element there is still vitally important as well. Have you seen that, one, there might be some fear by some people, but secondly, also, it's actually, if anything, it's actually brought the real gold to the surface and those diamonds really to the surface as well, because they're starting to shine out a bit more.
Yeah, it's
I suppose in relation to candidates from that perspective,
machinery will, I think, robotics, machinery can replace labor intensive
Yep.
roles. Obviously we're seeing growth with technology and innovation around AI within businesses, and whether that's sort of building capacity in the business, or it's going to an outsourced consulting provider to bolt on. So that's sort of what I'm seeing at the moment. But the human element, I suppose it's from like in the C-suite or at the leadership level or middle management level, it's always a project, now on their to-do list, or part of the vision, or their position responsibilities, and that's efficiencies. It's the one word that covers it all. A lot of the positions we've been recruiting, as I said lately, at that middle management or that senior level, the innovation, the efficiency, and the projects surrounding all of that, and the leader that they're looking to embrace that has become so important.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Now, you are without a doubt the best recruiter in the world.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, when I
Might
was
have
with Adecco,
I might
I
have a
did
personal
get that credibility.
might have a personal bias there, Kylie. So it's but from that perspective, there's so much responsibility placed on you to find that right candidate for the employer. So what actually makes, what is the difference between, say, an average recruiter or a good recruiter and an exceptional recruiter, which I do obviously put you in that band?
Oh, thanks, Tony. I It's simple to say you're either a recruiter that is transactional, and that's the way you approach your your role or your market or your service offering, or you're an advisor. And again, I'll add another layer to that: you're a trusted advisor. And yeah, there are two offerings in the marketplace, I suppose, when one is looking to go to a recruiter, and it can depend on the volume or it can depend on the seniority of the role. But the market, in my 20 years experience has moved far away from the transactional recruiter and into the advisor. And, of course, I was talking before, it comes with maturity and experience, but it's also an intention to do, to get an outcome and do a great job in doing so. Um, yeah, it's a big role. It's a really big, juggling position to sort of carry. And when you're $1 million biller, it really comes down to putting in the hours. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, you've really got to put in the time and invest in your market. And obviously, the rewards will come. So yeah, look, as I said, there's two types of recruiters out there, depending on the needs and the volume of a business. But you can choose which pathway you want to go down.
You've built a really successful business in the period that you've owned it, and it's only going to become even more successful. I know your personality. It's about being successful, but your success still comes down to always doing the greatest job for the candidate and the employer at the same time. What are some of your non-negotiables when it comes to working with an employer and then when it comes to working with a candidate?
When we're sitting down with an employer, assessing obviously the business, the people in the business, and we'll get to a point obviously where we're talking about the brief and the problem and the challenges and the outcome. But the absolute non-negotiables are, and engage a business that is solid. Um, with obviously good intentions. I mean, there's so much more that we qualify there, but and obviously someone, a business owner that's looking for a relationship. As I said, we aren't transactional recruiters. It's not a one-stop shop. It's an ongoing journey here that we're going to be an extension of your business, and we're going to grow with you, and that's how we're going to continue to find the right talent, because we're immersed with you. And so that's how we look to partner with clients. And as I said, the non-negotiables, there's a lot of them, but it does come down to taking that time to assess and ultimately seeing if we can work together. There's times where it's not going to be a successful relationship for either or because you're time poor, but you need our time. There's so many different variables, or there's just not a click. You can work that through. And with candidates, again, it's simple to say that the non-negotiables there are, with our business model, we like to work with candidates on a one-on-one basis. So if they're deciding to go out to 5 recruiters, they've got their resume out to 25 applications, we may not be right for each other. It's I appreciate that's someone's approach.
Yeah, can you explain why?
Yeah, I suppose that's where, yes, it's a competitive marketplace, absolutely, but we advise and we consult to make sure that we're understanding the candidates' objectives. Obviously, we're understanding their career and their history and the goods that they've got to offer and the value that they offer. But we're also advising on where might be the right home to look. The employers that we're working with and why they're seeking the top talent. So it's a time investment, and as I said, it's a relationship to build there. And if it seems to be very transactional for the candidate, appreciate that's the way they like to go about it. Maybe they've always done that within their career, but yeah, we sort of let them go to the bigger recruiters who have more volume, and probably the right opportunities for them, seeing it's more of a quick, fast-tracked approach.
Do you find those people who might have that thought process don't just want to work with the one as an example?
Mm-hmm.
Do you find they might be that individual who, and I'm trying to use the right terminology here, that you have a look at their resume and in 11 years they've had 6 jobs.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Yep.
You've hit the nail on the head there. It can.
which from an employer's perspective
Yeah.
would be a red flag.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's yeah, you always need to take, again, our non-negotiables in our business is remove the bias from, it could be any conversation, any resume, no judgment whatsoever. We're here to explore. And again, that comes back to investing the time with the clients that, want to work with us, we want to work with them, and the candidates. So removing the bias or challenging the job jumps and the history in their career is something that we will invest the time into doing so that we can then take that to market and, discuss with our clients, the employers, the reasons for. But it needs to be validated. And as I said, if we take away the bias, we can get there.
Going back before, you mentioned the word brief.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain to our listeners who might not have used a recruiter before or a recruitment company before, what is a brief? Give a rough idea of what a brief is. What does it work? How does it work? Do you help them with, for example, clarity agreements or position descriptions? So can you explain a lot more rather than just saying, here's a job, I'll go and find someone for you.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that brief is and the work you do and how you actually then work through candidates to try and find a couple of good candidates out of the 10 or 15 you might have thought of?
Yeah. If we look at the big picture, we have 27 steps in our recruitment process. The brief that I referred to earlier, or the briefing stage, if we get down to 1 or 2 steps under that 27, it's the position description. So whether a client has a position description from 2 years ago or 8 years ago when they made that hire, that we need to sit down and go through to challenge, to evolve, to bring up to date. That's the work we'll do on the brief, i.e. position description. But then we have a briefing stage with the client where we're really getting under the hood to understand, obviously, the business, the vision, the growth, the structure, why the role exists, obviously the accountabilities in the position, the ideal profile. That briefing stage is quite intense, and it's at the beginning of the search process, because we're really getting to know, exactly what they're looking for, but exactly what the business is going to provide to make it all sustainable. And then we take it through the search process post-brief and move on from there.
You mentioned the word profile. There's a lot of profiling tools out there.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something that you do with candidates in respect to the profile, or is it a mixture of profiling, gut feeling, working with them, really interviewing the candidate in depth rather than just going for a CV? What's your process there?
Yeah, again, a profile, in that true meaning of the word, can be the resume. And we are seeing a lot of resumes at this point in time that are AI generated. And it's sticking out. It's sticking out exactly how you'd see it on a screen if you were to enter into ChatGPT, formulate my resume. It's a copy and paste, and
I can't even
just not
humanize
working.
it. So it's okay. Wow.
It's not working.
Yeah.
So when, again, the word profile could be the candidate's resume, and or profiling is going into market and looking at the job title, the skills required, and profiling, researching particular candidates' backgrounds. LinkedIn's very helpful for that, and we have another program, LinkedIn Recruiter, behind the scenes, which through keywords and skills and industry sectors and years of experience, we use to basically pop in the criteria, and it will spit out the profiles that we need to then research and create that long list that we need to be able then qualify into a short list for the client.
So, from that perspective, does that mean that you might identify someone who could be a really good candidate for a job that you don't necessarily know, and you might approach them?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, it comes
Because
down to having that
LinkedIn
conversation.
was originally a tool for recruitment, wasn't it?
When we first jumped on it, it was a database of resumes. So as people were updating their profiles, it all come down to work experience. And then the connection started to evolve, and everyone blogging started to, take off. But yeah, it was an online directory of resumes from our point of view.
I remember the
Yeah.
first time I started looking at it, and there was a futurist by the name of Craig Rispin, and he was the one who actually introduced me to it. And I can't remember the year, but I think it had only been in existence for about 2 or 3 years at the time. And he said, "Do you have Facebook?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, that's an answer I haven't really heard before."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, no, my sister has it to stalk my children, but I don't have it." So my sister eventually got sick of stalking my children, told me to do it myself.
Oh,
So
there you
it's to
go.
get on Facebook. They were young, very young at the time,
Yeah.
not so young now. But he said, if you think of what Facebook is, LinkedIn is Facebook for grown-ups and businesses. It's a professional social media site.
True.
And when he actually explained it to me in those terms, it made sense to me. And I've actually, compared to some, I don't have many people on LinkedIn. I think I'm like 7,000 or something, but I've seen some with hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
But I think from what I can say is I've actually formed some really good friendships that have actually, and relationships that have actually been built out of LinkedIn, connecting on LinkedIn. And actually, I've always had a rule that if somebody connects with me on LinkedIn and they don't try to sell me something within the first usually 3 seconds, or my rule, 3 days, I will actually reach back to them and say, "Hi, Kylie. Thanks for connecting. I see we have a lot of people in common. How do you know Mona?"
Okay.
As an
Okay, you're a
example.
classic example there of
Yeah.
how the LinkedIn messaging can work if you're not selling. Um, yeah, if you're looking
I like
to
to build a
build a network,
relationship and a
build a
network. Yeah.
relationship. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's lots of news going around at the moment about we've all seen our inboxes flooded with, I've got this to sell, we need to connect to discuss this. And yeah, but again, if you're just take a step back and look to build a relationship and share value between each other as you follow and go on that journey, it's far more powerful.
Yeah, I did have one yesterday, which I thought was quite funny. It's linked request came through, accepted it, ding straight away up in the message box, went into the messages because it might not have been this individual, but it was. And the first thing she said was, "Hi, Tony. I'm sending you a message. Certainly not here to sell you anything, but here's everything I do, and here's how I can increase the value of your business." It's just like, I don't even know if you even bothered to look at my resume or you just went through. So it was actually just quite interesting.
Yeah.
That I'm not here to sell you anything or do it was not here to sell you anything or to do a hard sale, but here's everything I do and here's how I'll help you in your business.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow,
Yeah.
that's
Isn't it interesting? Because we used to get that phone call, but
at least
obviously because
at
it's
least I
not.
got my name.
Yes.
I have had one where it says "Dear" in brackets insert
Oh,
name.
First name.
Yeah, it was just like wow. So
Yeah.
I didn't even use but anyway,
Yeah.
but it can be, and I think one of the things I've learned out of it is you can actually build relationships through technology if it's genuine. And it's because you're in an industry where I know you could help us or you could help our clients. We get along really well. We're good friends. Why wouldn't I use you? Now, I met you through an organisation that we're both part of, Cub, which I think we both really enjoy there. I've formed some great friendships out of Cub, actually. But I think one of the greatest things of it, though, is it is genuine. And I think, once again, going back to what you do, is you are genuine in your approach. So you might use LinkedIn to be able to find that candidate, but you're still genuine in respect to the approach to them. It's not just getting them on your database. It's you have a genuine potential opportunity for them, which is the reason why you've actually contacted them.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
which is really, really important. So when we go to say that executive level, opportunities go just beyond resumes, go beyond skills, etc. that you see on a resume. What's some of the in-depth stuff that you then do to be able to flush out? One of the things I've often said is that somebody will turn up usually as their best version of themselves at their first job interview. And sometimes people also, though, can turn up unbelievably nervous
Mm.
and the worst version of themselves, but end up so incredible.
Mm.
And I've had an experience
Mm.
of both of those in the past. So where do you work with, or how do you flush that out, beyond the resume,
Yeah.
etc.?
Yeah. It's within the interview process, it's there's questioning, whether it be behavioral or skill assessing. Um, it doesn't take one or two meetings. It can really take three, if not four. Some processes we've ran, we've recommended at the end have dinner together. That'll sort of bring back
Who pays?
into conversation. Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
No one's really, yeah,
If I ever have a business dinner, I struggle not paying.
yeah,
Yeah, so I just really, really struggle with it. So, and, in friendships and things like that, I think it was just the way my dad was.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've just always really struggled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just a good way to take everything off the table in a professional sense and get to know each other,
Mm.
and again remove the nerves. Sometimes in a more relaxed environment, it can really help bring someone's just unpack the layers of a corporate environment to a more safer, more relaxed environment to really see one's true self.
Yeah.
Even meeting the team, doing a walkthrough of the office and, meeting a select few team members is a good throw into a recruitment process, just so you can get others' perspectives on, their gut feeling as to whether or not there may have been something that they picked up on through the conversation that you didn't, that was a little bit of a red flag. Um, Look, there's a lot of ways that we go about interviewing candidates to get the best information that we need to take through and to obviously meet the criteria. So taking, in the briefing stage with the client, we're giving them tools and recommendations on how to structure their interviews. We're very professional and knowledgeable in how to run our interviews. We don't want it to fall apart when they're, because they're not doing it day to day like we are. So we're helping, advising, giving tools and pieces of information and questions to ask the candidate when they're in their office, in their interview stage, to make sure they're getting the best out of the interview. Because it's still, there's still a lot of business owners out there that are just going by gut feel. Just bring them in, we'll show them around the office, let's have a
Oh, they're really
coffee.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
they seem like a nice human, and it's like, okay, well, we really need to structure this appropriately so that you're getting all the information you need to make a decision, not that gut feel.
It was interesting. 22 years ago, and we still work together. I had a candidate. I was down to the final two, and I had nothing to do with the decisions, but it was just meeting the final two candidates. And based on the resumes, I must admit I had a bias towards one and not the other. I'm very glad that my bias was overruled, because that person, we've now worked together for 22 years. So it's actually really interesting. But that was just based on what I saw on the resumes without actually having met them.
Yeah.
But one of the interesting things that why I hired this one individual was it was actually she was real
Mm-hmm.
in the interview. And I asked a couple of questions, and on one of them, she actually turned around and said, "Well, this is one of her, what she regards as one of her weaknesses," which was actually quite interesting, because the way we were communicating with, we had a HR manager there, had a team of 55 people, a general manager, myself, and who else was there? Oh, head of our corporate advisory as well, because she was going to be working in that team. And I actually just found it really interesting that she regarded it as a weakness, but the way she answered it, I regarded as a real strength, because she showed some vulnerability of wanting to actually increase something. But the part that stuck out with me was, I mean, when I met her for the very first time, and both of you know her, so it's, but I said to her, how do I pronounce your surname? Do you pronounce it Stefanovic or Stefanovic? And she just looked at me and she said, you must be a wog.
Ah,
So
love
she goes,
it.
I saw Kofkin was Eastern European, but thank you for asking. It's Stefanovic.
Oh,
And it was just like, she was just so,
yeah,
so
yeah.
so it's, and I just thought, oh, well, there's the young lady from Maui. So it's,
Yes. There you go.
but it was just something that really stuck with me of
Yeah.
how funny it was. But she was actually really grateful that I didn't say, oh, you're related to Karl Stefanovic.
Okay.
So as everyone else has always done. So, so it's just how do I pronounce, and I actually got that from Mr. Irwin.
Yeah, there you go.
He liked to be able to make sure people's names were pronounced correctly.
Yes.
So it's,
Yeah.
so the three of us in this room actually have Polish backgrounds, so it's,
Yes.
and
So I'm
some,
Jasinski, not
yeah,
Jasinski.
that's right. So it's, so it can be,
My
but
dad will, always pull people up on that.
the Anglo-Saxonization of our names,
Yes.
especially our surnames. But it was actually just really interesting. That was something that really stuck with me in that interview, how she just laughed and just openly said
There
that.
you go. And I imagine her shoulders would have dropped and there
Oh,
would have
yeah.
been a different connection at that point.
Yeah, definitely. So it's, as I said, 22 years is a long time.
Yeah.
22 years have been me put in my place. So it's, at the same time. Okay, but you've worked in recruitment for 20 odd years. You've built a very successful business. You are magnificent at your job. If you could go back to the start, what is something that you would double down on, and what is something that you would say, no, not doing that again? So something, some things that you've maybe done in your career
Yeah.
since you've owned your own business.
Okay. This might sound ironic. I would double down on my own recruiting process. I would sit myself down and consult to myself about my recruiting process. And I suppose any business owner can appreciate that when you're growing a business,
Definitely.
and people who want to work with you are telling you all the right things and you're taking a little bit of risk on, they're a gun salesperson from here and there, and, they're going to, do exactly and more what they did in their last role. And, I think you just get caught up in having to wear all those hats and making, decisions to hire that you just want to get on with it. And, so I learned a few lessons in the earlier days to, just really pull back and sit with myself to make smart decisions when it comes to hiring, and just be considered and slow it down. And you're always learning. This is what I love doing every day for others and others' businesses. And, I've got that, I suppose I've got that experience now to sit down and I've got all those lessons learned, all those examples, all those case studies, all those, placements and sitting down with business owners. But, until you sit in it yourself and listen to, your own intuition or your own knowledge is where you may do things differently.
Yes, yes, I hear you. It's, sometimes I would have been far better off if I actually took my own advice that I give other people.
See? Yeah. And, not expecting everyone to be, the same as you, I suppose,
Thank God, I can assure you,
Ah,
the
I
world would be a
know,
disaster if everyone was the
yes.
same as me.
I know. How hard would they be to lead and to
Oh, I
control in maybe one way, shape, or form? I don't like that
How
word.
do you do it,
but
Bella? How do you?
Yes.
So how do you do it?
We need feedback.
Mm.
Yeah. Just to, again, I suppose it's, when you start to be that business owner and, learning from others like yourself, just um, to lean on others and understand their experiences and just learn and learn and learn and learn. Day to day is just something that, I am so grateful for the opportunity, reflecting back on the last 6 years now, to have had my circle to learn from, to guide me, and to back me. Because there's those days where you just don't know if you can back yourself any longer.
Oh, I've had those days.
So having that support, that blanket around you, knowing you can, lean into it is so important.
A couple of years ago, a thought entered my mind for a brief, well, probably an hour actually. I won't just say for a brief few seconds, but it's just like, why not just sell everything up and just go and live in Spain? Yeah, I could live forever because it's so cheap over there.
I know.
So I could just go now, so I was 55 at the time. I thought, that sounds really good. And then an hour later, I got over myself and
I
just
know.
just came into work.
Yeah.
So and did what I had to
When
do.
I got back from there 6 months ago.
Mm.
Yeah, that thought entered my mind.
Oh yeah. No, I remember catching up with you down at Cub. I said, "How was the holiday? It looked amazing." So it's
Yes.
yeah.
It's
So
just a different way of life.
oh, it is,
Mm.
and it's actually not expensive to live there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's and it's just everything there seems to be beautiful. The people are beautiful.
Yeah.
Just everything seems to be beautiful.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
why we holiday there, to take that break from everything that is high pressured and so different
Yeah.
here, and to appreciate,
Yeah.
that we deserve that reward,
Yep.
and to be in an environment where you can just relax and chill. Yeah.
Now, you and I are good friends and we know each other very well. So I'm going to ask you some quick fire questions here, but you don't have to answer them quick fire. So I know the answer to all of them already, but it's so your AFL football team
Geelong.
and you've indoctrinated the girls to both for Geelong too.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, most definitely. And
They could-
James, their dad, conveniently barracked
Yeah.
for Geelong when
Oh,
we
that's
met.
very convenient
so
then,
there was
yes.
no alternative. And
Okay.
Poppy was not going to be pushing Essendon on them, so it was Geelong.
I was going to ask that question is how do two girls from St. Columba's in Essendon, neither of you barrack for Essendon? It is just beyond me. How does that happen?
Yeah, no, as I said, my dad and my brother barracked for Essendon. And the
That's why
reason
they're
why
such wonderful people.
yes, that's true. The reason why I go for Geelong is
Mr. Jasinski,
because
if you are listening to this, I think you're a wonderful human.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know he's seen some not
Sorry, Mr. Jasinski.
George
Jasinski.
Jasinski.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a holiday house in Anglesey, so every weekend I was driven past Cardinia Park, and I just said, "That's my team."
But you were never driven past Windy Hill?
No, that's true. I was dragged to every game at Windy Hill. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the other thing. It was like, I'm going to, my destination for the weekend, the surf. There's my team. Whereas, every other weekend was, Windy Hill watching. Actually, no, when I was watching all those Essendon games in between the Geelong games, Essendon was on fire. It was Kevin Sheedy days, James Hurd, all of them. Scotty Lucas, that
Yep.
was a real era for them, wasn't it?
It was, and then it's interesting you two St. Columba's girls because you actually back for two teams that are arch enemies. Hawthorn.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, I don't know. I don't know what's in the water at the St. Columba's tap fountains, but
there you
yeah.
go.
Anyway, it's I can get past that. You're both wonderful humans.
Oh,
So
good.
it's so when you wake up in the morning, what time is that, Kylie?
4:30.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
you make life so hard for me.
Yeah.
I remember it just being 4:45.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
4:30 now.
I'm very competitive with it.
Yeah.
So, no.
Yeah. A week is generally 1 week's generally around 4:30, the next week's about 5:30. So
Okay. Depending on whether you got the girls or not. Yeah.
I just couldn't start the day any differently, to be honest.
And
if
how
I
do you start the day? You can share with our audience.
I'm up at that time, either making sure that the school lunches are ready and packed, and then, or otherwise I'm out the door heading straight to high altitude training, or I'm on a run with my running group in the area. So it's just to get that fresh air, to not think, even though every time I walk into a gym or go on a run, I want to be 1% more challenged or different, or feeling better about why I'm up at that time in the day. So I take it quite seriously, even though I'm surrounded by a great bunch of people who are continually pushing me along. But it's so great for my energy levels at around 3-4 o'clock. My energy levels are certainly not up there as they are in the morning, but that's when I'm either picking up the girls from school, or really looking towards the end of my day and knowing I've got a lot out of it, a hell of a lot achieved in one day.
Now, you are quite an exceptional runner. Are you doing the Melbourne Marathon this year?
Sure am.
Actually, I knew the answer to that because you were entering it when I was sitting next to you down at Cub.
You were my final push.
Well, then you said, are you entering it? So I said, no.
I was like, damn, I just paid.
Yeah, not anymore. So it's, no, I don't do those things anymore. So it's, I openly admire those who do. Yeah, so it's,
Interesting.
yeah, it's interesting how sometimes the memory of the pain fades, but for me, I just get out of bed and it's painful. But it is interesting because one of my, and a lot of people know this, is one of my mantras when the alarm goes off at 4:45, not 4:30.
It's close.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like, and it's just one of those. Oh, I think I'll just stay in bed. It's what would Kylie do? It's just like, okay, I'll get up. So it's, I mean, I've got no excuse. I walk down the stairs into my gym,
Yeah.
and it's a great gym, and I've got a
Nice.
beautiful treadmill there because I can't run under roads
Yeah.
anymore as well. And it's just like,
See, I find that more, I feel you're far more motivated. The fact that you walk through your mind, okay, yeah, I've got to get down the stairs, I've got to get in the car, I've got to get to the gym. Like
it's really
that's
hard walking
my,
downstairs at my
you know
age.
what? I
So-
think I'd roll over at that point, knowing that the facility I was going to was just far too close, and maybe I can stretch it out another 15 minutes.
Mm,
That's why I like classes sometimes, because it just, you've booked in, you're accountable, you're going to be there.
yeah. And especially if you're running with a running group as well,
Yes.
that you know that they are going to push you,
That's right.
and you are going to be there pushing them as
Yeah.
well. So it does go both ways.
Yeah.
Not every day is a good day.
Yeah, exactly.
I have actually always, when I was coaching triathlons, one of the things I always said is always remember, no matter how you feel before a run, you never finish a run and say, I wish I never did that. You just, or you've got the endorphin rush.
right.
You might not be having the dopamine rush before the run,
Yeah.
but afterwards, it's always a case of, I'm really glad I did that.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, always.
Before you go out in that gym session, high altitude training, or run in
Yeah.
the mornings, your coffee or a green smoothie, or do you eat prior? Or
No, I don't eat prior. I have a coffee straight after.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then into a smoothie.
And how do you have your coffee?
Piccolo? So it's just a shot with a little bit of milk, and that's just the crave, that fills the crave gap. And then as soon as I'm into work, it's more of a sit with a cup.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you prefer to physically read a book or listen to a book?
Listen to a book.
Yeah. Yep. So it's and what?
However, when on holidays, I will always make sure I've got a hard copy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't, again, when you're on holidays and you're sitting there, you're doing enough sort of tapping into work emails on your phone, that I really need to separate technology from reading, and it's back to hard copy.
Yeah, I like to really separate technology from holidays now.
Yeah. Yes. One
it's-
step further. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think where was it? Oh, it was last year when I was in Poland and Berlin. There was a rule that went around the office I didn't know about until I came back, and that was I had to be ghosted. Yeah, if he sends you an email, do not respond.
Yes.
Ignore him.
Yeah.
And I was being ghosted, and I just came back. I thought, mate, my emails aren't going
Yeah.
through, and it's just like, no, I was being ghosted.
There you go.
And guess what? I came back, and the place actually was still here,
Still
and
standing.
yeah, it wasn't just still standing; it was thriving without me. I just thought I could just stay away. It looks like so.
Yeah.
They're just doing such a magnificent job, but
Oh, good on you.
it is sometimes as a business owner to separate. This is now downtime,
Yeah.
and having a couple of weeks downtime is sometimes a really good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so there'll be some places in Morocco out in the Sahara where I won't be able to pick up Wi-Fi anyway, so
Yeah.
probably a good thing.
Oh, damn it, yes.
Yeah, I know. So it's
Yeah.
probably a good thing. So then share with us, do you read business books or do you read fiction?
The Diary of a CEO, I've opened that. Thank you.
You have?
Yes.
Okay. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, yeah.
It is a good book,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's amazing.
And he's a great podcaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in my, it's popping up. He pops up everywhere now. I think obviously my phone knows I'm into the book at the moment, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
always on.
Yeah, it is a absolutely magnificent. I actually just love the fact that he's put a lot of his own teachings and learnings and failures into that book, but he's also, what he's done is the winnings and failures of his guests, and his guests are sensational. I regard him and Chris Williamson as the two who I had the honor of meeting just a few weeks ago. It's amazing meeting him. But those two are just two of the greatest interviewers and podcasters in the world. So to actually just be able to have a chat to him and meet him and have my photo with him was quite amazing. I'd love to do that with Steve Bartlett too.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. One of my clients, his wife, her PA is now his PA. So she was approached and had to leave that business she was in and say goodbye to Sarah to take on his role as PA.
Wow.
Yeah. So she's flown over to, where's he based again?
LA.
To LA to take on that full-time gig.
Yep. Wow, what a huge gig. What a huge gig. Okay, so in closing, where is the next holiday?
I haven't penciled one in. I know that's really quite
We spoke about that at Cub, and I
sad.
mentioned Morocco to you, and I remember you saying, "I've never been to Morocco."
No,
So it's yeah,
I do. Like, I want to take Dad to Poland. It's
yeah.
been a long time since he's been there,
Have you
and
been?
no, and I
Oh wow, okay.
really dying to see it after your report.
The most beautiful country and
Yes.
probably the safest country.
Yeah.
Not that I really feel unsafe anywhere I go.
Yeah.
I'm big enough and stupid enough and naive enough, for most people to leave me alone. But it was truly a stunningly beautiful country. The people were wonderful,
Yeah.
and everywhere you went, you just felt safe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was just beautiful. And the history, sad, positive, but everything about it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. So yeah, I just need to sit down, start
So when are you
planning
going to pencil? When are you
time.
going to pencil that in with
Look, it
George?
might have to be next year.
I'm on
just
first name basis with you now, George.
Yeah, you are.
So, yeah.
Might have to be next year, just given that we're already in April.
Mm.
I'll have to decide whether the girls will come
I know
with
how
me
hard
as
it is
well.
for you and I to have a catch up.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So yeah, trips throughout this year. Look, I've got a great group of high school friends who've got children as well. So we're always throwing little short trips out there to see who's available and when to do mum and daughters or mum and sons sort of thing. But yeah, nothing booked in yet. But it can, I'm booking Spain last year was 2 months before we flew out. So, I'm a little bit spontaneous when it comes to, getting excited about a trip and then just getting on with it, getting into it.
Was it a case of I'm tired? Yes, I'm booking.
Oh, look, I sold one of my investment properties and my girlfriend just split from her partner, and we were sitting down. I was consoling her and talking about my win. And yeah, she's like, I've got this opportunity to go to Spain and meet my friends over there. What do you think? I was like, oh, let me think about it.
Sold.
Yeah. Called her the next day and said, Mum and Dad are
You
organised.
took a
The girls are
day.
sorted.
You
Yeah.
took a day. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I suppose you do have other things to think of as well, called
Yeah.
beautiful children.
Called her mum and dad. Would you, look after the girls for a couple of weeks? They're like, yeah, we'll move into your place. Sounds great. I was like, yep, we're done. We're good.
Great. I'm off. Bags packed.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See you, girls.
So
Mum's off.
they're expecting another call soon. If it's not, Dad, let's go to Poland. Let's start planning it.
Yeah.
They're always on the waiting in the bay, thinking, when are we going to look after our grandchildren next? Where's she going?
I look forward to hearing both George and your recounts of that holiday from next year.
For sure.
So I will
hit
hold
you
you.
up.
I will hold you to it.
Will you give me some hints and tips? That'd be great.
Oh yeah. Well, I went on a tour and it was great. So I was by
perfect.
myself. I was by myself, and it was. I call it the lazy way of doing it because you just get to go to all the places. A great tour guide makes all the difference as well, and you get to really see things and learn history that I wouldn't have probably known otherwise.
Oh, of course. And that's exactly the way I like to do holiday. If I'm not with someone that's super organized, we through Spain, we did a lot through ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Amber was great at that. And, all the reviews. So she mapped it right out, whereas I just sat back.
I've seen Amber on your socials for years. Yeah.
I just sat back and said, you know what, I do enough of that in my business life and home life. If you're okay with it, you take the rein. I'll just sit back and go with the flow here. So if I think, taking Dad and me not wanting that responsibility of ChatGPTing everywhere to go, tour would be perfect.
Yeah. No, they are. They're not that expensive either.
Mm.
Kylie, my friend, thank you so much for coming in. Looking forward to continue working together as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Go Bombers.
Yeah. We shall see. Are you going on Saturday?
Yeah, I wouldn't miss it for the world.
You are too. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's would not miss it for the world.
Okay.
It's actually been a 20+ year tradition between myself and my son.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got a whole lot of photos of him getting taller and overtaking me all the way through. So
Nice.
his very first football game I took him to was a 2.5-year-old was the very first Essendon Collingwood Anzac Day game.
Good luck.
So,
I'm
always
on your
been-
side. Don't worry.
So am I. Thank you. You're a great person.
Cool.
The Kofkin Bond podcast is a product from Kofkin Bond Company, which we are an authorized representative of Count Financial. All information in this podcast is for education and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional, finance, legal, or tax advice. The hosts of the Kofkin Bond podcast are not aware of your personal financial circumstances. Before making any financial decision, you should read the product disclosure statement and, if necessary, consult a licensed financial professional. Do not take financial advice from the podcast. For more information, head to the disclaimer page on the Kofkin Bond website, or you can find resources on the ASIC website and find a registered financial professional near you. In the spirit of reconciliation, Kofkin Bond Co and the hosts of the Kofkin Bond podcast acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today.